But you know, I think it's part of the deconstruction of I don't know. It's just it's so new and fresh every day. You know, just the possibilities are changing. So you know, in a situation like that, how do you deal with the matrix constructs? How do you deal with them?
And I feel with all this COVID thing, it's like even worse because we have new forms of obligations to not go there, not move.
Yeah.
So it's like the way you take it, right? It's like, do I see it as an opportunity to go deeper and to just not connect with it and sort of connect with another type of energy, or am I more realistic? And so, okay, so I cannot go there and I cannot travel. And it's like a choice, right? It's a choice we make and how we decide to see it.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. And how far do we have to take it? You know, I mean, honestly,
exactly.
there's no borders. There's no need for a passport. I mean, these things are being deconstructed, but at some point we've got to. I would think we have to choose, even if it doesn't make sense, choose not to, abide by what's put out there. Yeah, this is a deep subject.
I know it's a deep one to not just take it. It's like, okay, so everybody has to get vaccinated, otherwise you will never be able to go to see the movies or to take the plane again. So you don't really have a choice. I mean, it's not. I don't know if it's bad or good, but it's really.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if somebody came to me and said you can't go to Australia and, be with Morgan unless you get a vaccine, I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I mean, I might stow away and go, or I might get to a situation and say, well, I got to do this, and then just energetically prepare myself for this foreign chemical, formula that, stuck into my bloodstream. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. To me, I mean, we've been talking about this for the 10 years I've been involved in these communities. And at what point are we going to continue to pay taxes and continue to abide by? I mean, I just think that this divine feminine energy that's really, really starting to be seen is going to change everything. I just feel like that the feminine energy in all of us is tired of being silenced.
Trapped.
Yeah, trapped, silenced, suppressed.
Yeah,
and
lost.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
At some point, the it has to stop. So, and I guess that's what we're finding out is how do we affect everything from the place that we exist, because we're energy and we're our imagination, we're our thoughts. We know this is a quantum reality. We know that what we're seeing is what we project from what we observe. So that judgment, and all the stuff that we've been trying to integrate and shed and embrace and accept and put in the back seat, and it's not going to be making the decisions anymore. I mean, it's really, I don't think anybody really knows at all what this is going to look like.
Yeah, it sounds a little like, to me, it sounds a little like weird, there is more and more freedom and people are awakening. And then all of a sudden you have to stay somewhere and to take a vaccine. So I'm not saying this is fake or anything, but it's really containing energy.
Sure it is.
In places, and containing energy within people, and containing communities to be formed. Like it's really like I don't know, it's blocking movement, but not only in the physical, but also within. If you have less experiences and your energy is less, like you can move and practice whatever you want to practice at home, but it is different. You cannot practice the same and you cannot evolve the same.
Right.
And the thing that's surprising me is how easily so many, and I'm not blaming or judging, I'm just saying I'm surprised. Like it sounds weird to me. Like so many people are just accepting the vaccine, because if we take it, then we'll be able to travel and we'll be able to do whatever we want to.
Yeah.
But that's like, I don't think that's a good reason to take it. You take it if
No.
you feel it that's good for you, or if you think you have to for the collective, or to protect your parents or whatever, to protect the collective against a disease, which is a good, like, that's a good reason to me. But then allowing it just to not be trapped is like saying yes to a sort of, something's forced on you and you feel forced to say yes. So you say yes, but you don't think that's right. So that's a weird thing I'm really witnessing in a large scale in France. Like, they don't really agree with it and they don't feel it as a good thing. But then, I want to travel next summer, so I have to do it. No, don't do it just to, like, they are taking your freedom away, and so you do it to regain your freedom, but that's not the right energy to me.
So it's the Stockholm syndrome, where and so like if I was told you've got to take it, like today as things stand, I would find another way. I would stow away on a ship or do something and just go, by the world's terms, illegally. Because I'm not prepared to do that. Now, I could be in a situation 3 months from now where my abilities as an energetic being can override the power of suggestion of the threat energetically and physically of a vaccine. And I know we're not really talking about right and wrong here. We're not talking about is it real or is it not real? But you got to look at the history. I mean, many of us woke up because of the information that was being flooded onto the internet 10 years ago in regard to 9/11, in regard to Project Bluebeam. I mean, you can go right down the list, but you can't deny the fact that there's plenty of evidence that we've been programmed by our mirrors, by this realm. And obviously we know from a higher perspective that it's for our expansion of our soul, the expansion of the human dimension. But I think what it's going to get down to is people at an individual level are going to have to say, I'm not participating. I'm just not going to do it. And I don't see where any country or any authority, so to speak, could actually come down on that type of resistance. You saw some of it last year in Australia, and they came down pretty hard. I've seen some videos in England and in Europe, but there's a lot of people marching this past weekend in Europe. I don't know about France, but I know in England and in Germany, I mean, and they're not covering it. It's not being covered on the mainstream media.
Not really. Yeah.
No, none of it is. So,
So,
I think we're going to have to make a choice. And I honestly think it's going to come from that feminine energy that so many of you have really started this movement 10 years ago. I mean, in a large way. You go back 8-10 years ago and 85. Well, I can tell you, Soulogy, 8-10 years ago, 95% of the people that were in any of the Soulogy pages were women. And now it's anywhere from, depending on the page, it's anywhere from about 60 to 65%. So there's a lot more men coming to the table because I think the feminine inside of them is aligning.
And it's changing too. Sure. Yeah. And we cannot change like so many things in the word without men, right? It's really the feminine within everybody. And the allowing of the flow and the allowing of movement. And I'm surprised sometimes to see still this energy of, being steady and still and doing the same thing and not flowing. That's so ingrained and so developed in ourselves. So, there is movement, there is change, there is flow towards somewhere or towards an evolution of purpose or whatever. And we tend to always analyze with our brain why we should go, not go, and really be in this strategic, rational, and also ego, scared to lose something, while the energy is always transmuting and everything is evolving, right? Even like when people stay together, like a relationship is is still there. The relationship is evolving within itself, right?
Yeah.
Like a new layer, a new evolution. And I'm really seeing this in my current relationship. There is this container that's solid, but then in the container there is one layer and another layer. And all this to say that the energy is always moving and transforming. So there is like a big lesson for each of us to just allow what's changing to change, what's being formed to form. Not always, no, this is the way it should be. This is going to stay the same, you know, this type of very predictable, ego-based type of, no, I need this because this is what I know. It's controlling the unfolding.
Yeah. It never stops changing. Like we just went through this. And there was a lot of energy around the equinox, and we had a lot of energy come in here. And then we had to go into solitude for about 10 days. We just both stayed to ourselves, and and telepathically and intuitively, we knew what needed to happen. And this is just an example of what you're talking about. So if you look at the superficial, you're living in a world where there's a lockdown. If we separate, we might not be able to come back together again. Who knows what's going to happen? Does it change your relationship? And all these questions, right? So we came together and she said, let's have a talk. And I said, okay. And she goes, you know what I'm going to say, right? And I said, yeah, I already know. It's been 2 years. You need to go back. We can't wait for the perfect, scenario and all the quarantines to be dropped. I mean, she's in quarantine right now. In a hotel, can't leave the room, 500 people in this hotel. But what I'm saying is, and so you're in this environment, which I think a lot of us have said, it's beyond surrender. So we go into this thing and she goes over there, she goes into quarantine, and we have the most incredible, it was beyond astral traveling. It was a physical, most of the time the experience happens from the etheric and you might catch a glimpse of it in the body. This actually started in the body. And it was fascinating. But on top of that, and this is again just an example of what this energy has to offer. If we surrender, we've actually gotten closer and we're more connected than we've ever been. And our and our love connection is bigger than it's ever been. But how does that work? That doesn't even make any sense. But I think this is what we're getting into. I think when we make choices in alignment with the new, the new energy, the new way of life, which is to what? Make a choice. Don't look back. Step into the unknown, because you really don't know. You really don't know.
Yeah, and keep moving. Keep embracing the steps and what's really happening, not what you want to happen or what you're trying to control. Just go with what's really present, right?
Yeah. And a lot of people have talked about how weird time has been in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
And I really feel like part of what we're a part of, Morgan and I, because there has to be, I would think, teams. Anytime an energetic door is broken through, there's got to be teams on the earth doing it. You know what I mean? And I feel like that we're on the front end of space fading away. Because how do you explain 2 nights after she gets there that we have this incredible experience with full physicality? And we weren't like on each side of a phone talking to each other. On the linear timeline, it took a few hours, and there was 3 different episodes. Two involved me, and 1 involved her. Yet they were all the same thing. So something's going on there with the limitations, the false illusion that there's space between any of us. So I don't know. I'm a big believer now after that episode that we are certainly within the grasp of physical teleportation.
Yeah, and I think love as an energy, would it be romantic love or platonic love or family love, is way stronger than we think. And the purest it gets, the less there are so many distinctions between loving as a pure flow and being attached to somebody because they are giving you what you need, or just being somewhere interested in something. But love, like really respect and appreciation and gratitude and this type of, I feel deeply connected to you because I feel your wavelength, your vibration, your energy so close to mine. This is energetics. This is way beyond I'm next to you, I'm in the same house. This is really, and I've experienced this a few years ago with this individual I was calling my twin flame, which is a concept we wrote so much about and which has said so many beautiful things about before, just saying that it was also very hard and very, could be very destructive and painful relationships while you're never really with the individual. So you have to live your life and go into the surrender, right? Because you can live your life and create a partnership with somebody while still, for example, feeling a very strong soul recognition and soul connection, right? And so I've been feeling this, exactly what you're describing. So far away, but it's not even explainable. It's not in words. It's just, and you feel the depths of the connection. It's not because you do something together. It's not because you talk. It's known of the reality, like the real tangible aspects of it. It's just, it's a proximity between the souls. And this is unbreakable. She's in Australia, she's next to you. It's just the same.
Well, that's what's weird. And you're right about this, because there's new facets of our experience. So like in this example, I know this is going to sound really cheesy and really like a cliche, but I'm telling you, and I was thinking about this last night, I'm telling you, I know it sounds weird and fairy tale-ish, but last night when I laid down, because we always put our hands together, right? And so I put my hand out as if she's here, from the human, perspective. And it wasn't like she came to me, she came out of me. Right? Like I don't know. I don't have all the answers. And again, if it's happening to us, it's got to be available, accessible, and happening to other people, either on an individual level, couples, romantic or not, any connection like you're talking about. But yeah, I mean, the oneness thing is, I feel like we've embodied it. It's not even a choice. It's not even a discussion. And it's
it's
like,
not a discussion. It's really not.
Yeah, like you said, there's really no way to explain it, and it's taking on a life of its own, meaning that it's that third energy that you and I create together, right? That's working with us in that triad. So there's something happening there, and I think that it's moving a lot faster than any of us think it is.
Yeah, and it's happening to ourselves, right? This type of encounter or relationship or any situation now, I feel I used to be, like a few years ago, really always in the analytical mode and thinking mode. And so why is this? Why is that? And I'm like, oh, this is happening. This is just taking the body, taking the energy to its next level, to its next step. Right. So we can talk about it. And even for me, it's a little weird because I love to write. So I like to, and I'm at channels for writing, but it's also getting, I would say, less interesting and less applicable, it feels to me, than before, because the energy is really, there. It's in the body. It's way deeper and more down to earth. Something's going, there is a change. So I move. I'm not going to talk about it or to write about it. It's more, I don't know, in the heart, in the gut, is like the body's is the center of the changes, right? It's not there anymore.
That's right. And it doesn't have to say anything because it doesn't because it doesn't have to say anything. It's like a tuning fork versus, some type of verbal kind of communication. Hey, this is what's going on. I'm enlightened. You don't have to say anything. People are picking up on that vibe. But yeah, I think you're right. There's been a lot of discussion about how it's come into the body. People are having things going on with their body. Everything is expanding together. The mental, the emotional, the clarity, all these things are happening. And I think it's happening pretty quick. But I really feel like it's going to come down to, and it's already started, where these types of connections, small communities in the flesh, small communities online, openness, which I think is key, and of course, just being real. What you said a minute ago. There's something about what's happening, even though you might call it the embodiment of our multidimensionality, that's bringing us closer and closer and closer to honoring the human being.
Yeah. I would say you make me think of something. Like, if I had to say what really changed for me in the past years as I was going through the awakening, which is a term, but is the capacity to be myself and to see others being themselves without overthinking or without being scared of saying something.
Yeah.
I feel it's really about embodying who you are and embodying the authentic self, rather than I'm going to, just understanding you are in your past, and people come and go, and communities even could come and go. So it's necessary to try and be who you are not to gain whatever, because this is going to come from a false place. Mm-hmm. So I see more and more people not being afraid to express themselves, like out there, or, in houses, or in conversations, or on social medias. We had this very ingrained, I felt, persecution type. But if I write this or express myself, for example, about sexuality, what's going to happen? I shouldn't. It's not really allowed. It's forbidden.
Yeah.
And more people just saying what they want to say. Would it be healed, wounded? Even this is not that relevant anymore. They say what they want to say. They are who they are.
Yeah.
They, it's just real, very authentic. Everybody is flowing, is more and more, I feel, especially of course in some communities, embodying more and more the energy of the flowing human being, just embodying who they are with the all the facets.
Yeah, that's right. And you notice it too, like if you look at the news feed a year ago, like on anybody's Facebook page in these communities, we've had these waves of projection, especially with the election, and other issues. And the difference I see now is people are standing up and speaking their truth. There's less projection, and they may be shadowed and still have programs running, all of us. So even though it's not a purely balanced, aligned expression or projection, it's still them standing in their truth and finding their sovereignty. So I think people are starting to give each other space, and they're starting to stay in their own lane. And I think part of the reason we're starting to stay in our own lane is because it's a full-time job. The more energy there is, the more you got to keep your shift together, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To stay in balance.
Yeah, exactly. And this really, I feel, happened to me too, especially in my writings. I used to write a lot about other people, not really other people, but the way I was feeling about them, or they were bad or wrong or sane or insane. It was a lot about them, and so the way they were making me feel. And the more I go, the more I'm even stopped. If I write something like that, I can write about the collective energies, or I can write about who I am. But it's hard to say, I knew this type of man who was this type of individual, and so I suffered. It's always this very external and talking about others, and this type of victimhood, or very I'm talking about the external, and I just received it almost passively, because we feel when we write that we're not in our power, right? Even in a romantic relationships, it's always changing, and more people are becoming aware of that, and more people are expressing themselves about that, and really getting to know what stories they play in their head and what's happening within themselves, really within the self, rather than projection and blame and study of the other. And this is such a beautiful path, right? When we can do that, we're always I feel growing and evolving deeper, whenever I can bring myself back to myself instead of talking about somebody. This is when
that's the
this
key.
is a real thing. This is
That's
a
the
real
key.
thing, the self.
That's the key.
Yeah.
You know that saying, it's never them, it's always me. Uh, we can say whatever we want to say. Somebody can be very much a perpetrator to us. I'm talking about right now, not in the past, because the energy is different now. The energy is much quicker to, give back or reciprocate to you from pure intention,
Mm,
But I guess what I'm trying to say is, it's the truth is, and I know it sounds like a cliche, but it's never them. It's never anything else. It's always about me.
mm,
And it's just I feel like that it's not about, are these people awake or those people awake? I think this energy is hitting everyone equally on this
mm,
world, in this world,
mm,
including the world itself. And it's kind of like what you're saying. It's moving from, look what's happened to me, versus now it's moving to, what can I do with this? Like, what
mm,
do I want? What do
mm,
I want to create? There's no reason at all that any of us shouldn't have it all,
mm.
have whatever we want. And I think we've had enough multidimensional connection and contact. We all do it differently to know there's something bigger than what we thought was going on. So, the other thing I would say too, and you would probably be a good one to comment on this. A lot of people like yourself and Morgan and many other people that have been on this show have said for years that they understood the time would come when they would be put to work. And I think a lot of people thought, oh, I'm going to be doing sessions all day long. And that could be true. But I think it has more to do with how we maintain our balance in our energy field, no matter what's put in front of us. We could have a fake alien invasion. You could have massive earthquakes. You could have spaceships land. You could have legitimate and illegitimate things presented to us. And the importance is going to be, how are we holding our frequency? And I know that sounds a little bit.
That's key to me. Like what you're
Yeah.
saying right now is extremely important. I used to think I was going to, yes, exactly, give sessions all the time or write all the time, all those sort of professional ways of being a light worker or whatever. But I'm saying that it's not the hardest, and this is not where I have the most work to do, but more in real situations.
Yeah.
When, somebody's heel around you, when there is actually a real argument or fight in your relationship, when you are triggered because you still have to, and this is like embodying this sort of I'm responsible for myself. I'm responsible to step into my authentic self and to try and step into my highest version. This type of I'm responsible, I'm accountable. I found that this is the hardest perhaps, and this is the key. When we can be this in the word, and I feel so everything is faster, right? Yeah. I feel like when I'm in weird energy, something weird is going to happen. When I'm in a very high energy, I can really like co-create or manifest, it used to be for me sort of heavy, like a lot of pain or a lot of things to feel. So it would take a lot of time before I was going back to another type of vibration, but it tends to be so much faster now. And I feel it really reciprocates fast what we emanate in some way.
Absolutely, it does.
And the more we can be accountable and responsible for her behavior, this is really where the work is. And this is not that easy. Exactly. Even for, I don't know what you think about that, but for anybody, for any like light worker, like internet people,
anyone,
right?
anybody, and then, to me, this show, the best part of this show to me is when people are speaking like you are, the people you're referring to. I think of people like Judith Kuzel, Yeah. I mean, she just canceled the show. She wrote me back today and said, I'm ready to come back on. She had to take that time for herself, right? Like we're all doing that now. This is like, so what you're saying is, it's not the posts that we make pointing out, some kind of like quarantine or mask, or it's not like that. The important thing is what you're describing, which is how are we how responsible are we being in our personal,
Mm.
in this moment right now, each and every moment as things are presented to us? That actually is, I know it sounds crazy and it doesn't add
Yeah.
up with what we've been told, but that's actually how this thing's been turning around, because people are taking responsibility for themselves.
Yeah, that's so interesting that I feel we had, and all those stages that happen for you, for me, and for like people of the community and others, like expressing the self and sort of blaming those who are not awake. All this me, you had to happen because this is how the rising of the fire happens. But then you tend to see your own flows lots more, and you tend to try and integrate.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel for me right now, it's a lot about integration. So
Mm-hmm.
because I used to have very powerful moments of writing and channeling, but then during the day, it was hard for me to keep it up, to maintain this way of thinking or of being. And now we are trying to merge between those very high moments and sort of very cosmic energy and who we are actually with our people and in our places, and in our surroundings. And
Yeah.
this is so beautiful, but harder to me compared to writing amazing articles like I used to do a few years ago. That's where, really brilliant, but we're
Mm-hmm.
like 1 hour of channeling and then, you know?
It's like that. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Because I noticed that early on 10 years ago with myself and other people. I noticed that we were writing stuff. It was pure. We're conduits. We're waking up, yet we hadn't embodied it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah.
you get the information, and that's kind of how it's gone. But now, to your point, I think another example would be these faces of the universe that came to us. Like everybody has different guides and different clairs, and now, like if you look around, I mean, for a lot of people, those things are gone because they're in here now, right? And,
Exactly.
and so it's a different kind of deal. And so on one hand, you're conscious of more of your multidimensionality every day, but on the other hand, you're becoming more human. Like you
Mm,
can't leave the human out of this. The human
exactly.
that's the final piece of alignment.
Exactly. This makes me think of, Joseph Campbell,
Mm,
the hero's journey. And
hmm.
I feel for any of us, it's happened in this way, even if we have different stories and different journeys. You're somewhere, you're not awake, and then you break free and you go somewhere and you search and you introspect and you have experiences and you're a little tortured and you find and you channel and blah, blah, blah. But then the third phase is you feel you have to come back closer to, I would say, not society, but humanity.
Yeah.
Just integrating all of that in, like, how do I come back and how do I bridge both realities? How do
Yeah.
I do that? And this is really where the work is. And I feel where so many of us are right now. Instead of we started with differences. I'm this, you're that. I'm a warrior. I'm the divine
Hmm.
feminine. I'm the
Hmm.
priestess. Like names, but that's beautiful. That's what was needed. But then, okay, so now that I feel this power in me and I've revealed it and I can own it, how do I become again just a woman in France?
Yeah.
How do
Yeah.
we do that?
So
Who is the priestess
yeah.
in France, for
Well, it's
example?
funny because you're right, because there's a bee over here. All these animals love me now. I don't know what's going on. But so
That's a
like
sign.
exactly. Yeah, the birds have been coming in the last few days. It's been pretty crazy. But so a lot of us woke up, and woke up again was a lot of it had to do with, these personal things that happened, or you found out that things weren't what they were presented as, however it was. But a big part of it was getting to know our traumas, right? Getting
Mm,
to know the things that disassociated ourselves from ourselves. So
yeah.
so like the universe came in and said, okay, here's all your traumas. Now I want you to take a look at them, see them for what they are, and let them go, right? But then, as that was happening, all the multidimensional stuff came in, and I'm this and I'm that, and I channel this and I can do that. And now it's almost like the universe has come in and said, okay, now let go of that. Right?
Yeah.
Let go of just like you did the traumas. Now let go of all of that. And what do you have left? And it's Todd. And it's Sophie. That's
Exactly.
what it is. I'm serious.
Yeah.
You know, because if you think about it, all those things that have come into us, we already had them. The only thing we didn't have was ourselves, because we're busy, you know, over the years dissing the human and wanting to separate ourselves from those traumas, you know, and all the things that aren't right, you know, but here we are. And I think this is the real mystery of it all, the real payoff, the real treasure, the real prize is that as we become more present with ourselves, that's reflected in the world. And what becomes of this physical human? Can this physical human physically teleport? Can this physical human go beyond the limitations of time and space in the physical? I think that's why we're here.
Yeah, exactly. And also, how do you like walk your talk? I remember when I entered my current relationship, I was at a moment when I was writing the most about what is healthy love and healthy love, you know, all that. I was writing and talking a lot about it. But when I really entered this partnership, I saw myself once again being triggered by, I mean, my reaction to the triggers was different. Because it's like during all this time, we discovered things. We discovered, I don't know, angels, or the help of crystals, or the helps of oracle cards. Like we discovered things that can support ourselves. And also we discovered our darkness. But then all of this sort of we forgot about. I remember, for instance, when I was passionate about yoni eggs. And I was like, okay, I really need that. And this is different colors. It was really important. But then it's like you bring it on board with you. It reawakens something, or you remember, you reclaim an old part of humanness or of you, but then it's done. Yeah. So you don't need like the tool. I feel so many things were techniques and tools and, you know, but then the wisdom is back. And you are bigger in yourself as a human, but the technique, you can forget about it. You can forget about everything because everything is in you.
That's right. Yeah, all that stuff is code, right? I mean, the frequency or information stored in the crystals, or you do a reading with cards, or you have a dimensional experience. You know, I mean, I remember. You know, when I met Morgan real early on, we were on the phone and I was having a lot of stuff go on, but I didn't know what it was. You know, I didn't know people talked about it. So I started going through an activation, and it was this whole, you know, I was conscious. I guess we were doing a session, and I said, hey, there's all these men here. I'm going to get in line and follow them. And this big thing happened, right? Jesus was there, and John the Baptist, and all these holy men. So I'm telling her the story. And she's just kind of there tapping her fingers, like, you know, are you done? Well, I didn't realize she'd been going through this with her friends for years, and you can probably relate to that. So she's not caught up in what I'm seeing. She understands that I'm getting code and I'm being activated. So to your point, these things happen. And again, I say it again, the universe is saying, take all that away now. Like take those identities away. You're associating yourself with, you know, being in the lineage of Jesus, or being a descendant of Archangel Michael, or whatever the case is. Let them go, because it's just information that was meant to open code in you. And then what are we left with? We're left with Sophie and Todd.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like the main reason. Why are we 99% of the time conscious in this body with limited access to our multidimensionality? And that's changing. But there's a reason the human is the hero. There's a reason the human species is on center stage in the universe, because we're bringing alignment to every single place we've ever touched in the multiverses at the same time through the human, through the zero pointing of the human experience, which happens. It happens with you, and it happens with me and everybody else. There's nobody going to do it for you.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I love this idea of eventually just being, yourself and with you. I feel a lot was about, techniques, codes, and outer experiences bringing us back to ourselves. And I really felt this with a lot of like partnership or romantic experiences. That's where like vibration, like you connect with somebody, you think it's, the fairy tale love story or the things that's never going to stop. Like you confuse relationship and awakening. Like you have a lot of, everything is mixed. Like you feel a lot for somebody, so it's them. And it's like a lot is being merged and confused in the mind. And the mind is thinking a lot, but actually just like it is a vibration. You connect through somebody with, for example, somebody's very strong, somebody is very psychic, somebody knows Reiki, somebody is this, somebody is that. And so the universe puts them on your path like helpers, and then you connect through them and they give you a hand, then they leave, and somebody else giving you a hand, they leave, and one is offering your reconnection to this and one to that. But eventually you're just bigger, like your soul, your energy, your understanding, but you stay with yourself. it's really like, but not in a nostalgic or even sad or whatever, not in an emotional way, but that's a lot of like an inner journey and a very, very, very individual journey. And even now when I see somebody reclaiming their power and saying like, oh, I'm wondering if this job or if this situation, relationship is good for me, it's always about the self reclaiming their sovereignty.
Yeah.
It's taking like so many forms, but I feel it's so often exactly the same. It's the same journey in some way, in different situations.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways to say it. Everybody's being forced to choose himself. Yeah. Because when you really choose yourself, and we think, oh, well, that's selfish. Well, it's not. We know it's inside out. We know and again, like what you said about, guides and modalities and these things are important. Don't get me wrong, but we are looking at, I'm looking at one of my guides. I'm looking at, a projection of me that has code open that I don't, and vice versa. So this is an ongoing conscious merging from, we're all starting to come from the same intention. And just by virtue of the intention, without planning anything, oh, we're going to do this ritual, or we're going to do this, or we're going to do that, you just come into that space with that intention, and there's that third energy that we talked about earlier that's reciprocating and assisting us. And to me, that's the difference. Like you can see the magic, and it's just not, you're only going to find it at this level, like talking to a person or talking to a small group or being in a relationship, or even the connections you have throughout the day, as minor as they might seem. It's weird. Everything's backwards.
Yeah, it is weird. I forgot something I wanted to say just about something you just mentioned. I don't remember.
That's part of it too, though.
Exactly.
That's part of it too. Is
the
memory.
It's less attached, It's like
you can't. You can't.
And, okay, never mind. And the energy has already changed, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or it comes back.
Yeah, it's faster.
Yeah. But again, it's so crazy because it's like the things you thought were big are little, and the things that you thought were little were big. It's first and foremost the human itself. I mean, we thought everything, we're insignificant, we're not good enough, and now people are, like you said, they're stepping into the power.
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, the individual, I feel, was scared about stepping in their power and sovereignty from a place of always feelings, there is scarcity. So if I'm selfish, or if I do my self-care, or if I take time for myself out of any type of circumstance and really reclaim my power out of the boxes and the molds or a relationship or whatever, I'm scared of doing this because I'm scared of like aloneness, or I'm scared of not being part of, because I'm scared of like scarcity, because I don't initially, I remember not getting that if I lose everything, actually what's most important, which is connection, and which is the love of the self and the intimacy with the self, is always present and is growing, especially in spaces of scarcity. It's like you feel I'm scared of this sleep, because what's after, and then you find yourself lost, and in this aloneness, connection intensifies as you understand that you were never alone or never in scarcity, even if you never saw it before.
Yeah.
It was happening, but it wasn't perceivable for you.
Yeah. 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 Because, well, like I said, I don't think that it's not that you don't have to try, because I think anyone that showed up on the earth chose to do it, and that is effort in itself. Like this is a big deal. This is a big mission. This is a very polarized realm, and several people, credible people that have come on this show, like Franco Di Nicola, and others have talked about it, that have an awareness of other realms, that have recall of incarnations on other planets and such, that this is a very extreme experience. And it's been, we need to give ourselves a little credit. But what I was going to say is that at this point, it's so weird, because it's like the simplest thing. The last place we looked, the one thing we haven't tried is ourselves. And I don't think that we have to really try, because I think this energy is so strong. It's taken us all there. It's every single one of us. It's taken us all there, and the world is a reflection of that. So I don't know. It's
been amazing too to see that we're all evolving in a similar fashion. Like a few years ago, I remember on Facebook, so often there were not fights, but like somebody saying one thing and the other saying, no, this is not what you think it is. Like we're like trying to develop, I feel, together, even through friction.
Yeah.
We're trying to awaken ourselves through the tension from different points of view. And then something cleared even there. Like now it's very, people are talking like that, like direct. They're not, it tends to be more responsible, and this friction has dissolved. And I feel it was needed to get to the other side. Like any, for example, relationship fight, something we have to go through it to release it. We have to travel through these layers to get to a more clear and less interested in this energy type of vibration. And I feel it's really happened on social medias within our community.
Yeah.
It's changed a lot.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. You still see it now, and it's more of a sovereignty thing than it is I'm right and you're wrong, kind of thing. You did see a lot of that going on, and I think part of the reason that it's calmed down a little bit is, and I have no political affiliation whatsoever, but I think part of the reason it's calmed down a little bit is two reasons. One, the whole COVID thing with quarantines and masks, just mask alone, regardless of what your thoughts are, it's a very oppressive kind of thing. That's a huge energy that has affected the entire earth like very few things have in the last 100 years. Maybe World War II, World War I, things like that. And then the other thing is that people are speaking their mind. And when people start speaking their mind, then that's no different than any other frequency. If it's actually in a higher truth and a higher level of alignment, then other people are going to start doing it. And that's the big trip here is the embodiment. And like you said, walking the talk. That's what it's not like, oh, you got to do this to be a good soul or a good person. It's just like, no, this is what we're doing. Like the universe is coming in saying, this is what we're going to do. You're all going to be stripped naked because you're all the same. Figure it out. And that's not even the prize. The prize is, what can you do when you align to this level of frequency? Can you, will time and space disintegrate? Will you be able to bilocate? Will you be able to physically teleport? Will you be able to, will you even need to talk? Will it be a total telepathic environment? I mean, we are rapidly evolving, very rapidly.
Yeah, and like telepathy has really increased, I feel.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I know, like, somebody's gonna write. I know it before. Like, I had this like a few years ago initially, but it's really, even with, I don't know, like people I know less. I have no clue about who they really are, whatever. There is this type of, oh, this is gonna take this direction.
Yeah.
But we don't even need to say, oh, I'm a psychic or clairvoyant. It's not even like this type of box anymore. It's just, if the human being's energy is fully open and is connected, then anybody can be a conduit, a channel, a clairvoyant, or whatever. This is not even like a distinction between our community or humanity anymore.
Yeah, that's what you were talking about a while ago. We got to let that shit go. We had to let but it served us, just like you were talking about with the crystals and just different things. I remember a year ago that we were in Florida and we had a big experience, like the night before, during that week or something, when we went to bed. In other words, something came into the room and we both saw it and it talked to us. Like, so I told her, I said, wow, this is really getting interesting. I bet the next thing that's going to happen is they're going to come in and physically manifest. And then Morgan said, no, it's not going to be that. It's going to be less of that because we're that. So then I start seeing that over the last year, where you actually, like you were saying, when you look at somebody, you're actually not looking at their stories. You're really like looking at their higher self, and it's not like made up and fluffy love and light. It's actually that is a aspect of the goddess, the God, that has code for you if you're open to it. And the only thing that's standing in our way is the limitations and comparisons and programming we have in our head that makes me different than you, which is what you said when we started.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have, for some reason, we have 3 shows back to back. So we have another one.
God. Oh,
we
yes.
We have another one.
1 hour already.
Usually I leave an hour and a half in between, but something happened. So we got Jeff Chrisman is going to be on in 3 minutes. Jeff, I see you in the studio, but I've got to sign off, and then I'll meet you back in here in 5 minutes. Sophie, it's good seeing you. You're so beautiful. Thank you for what you're doing.
Yes, thank you so much, Todd.
And thank you. I mean, seriously, these feminine energies that have been leading the way, I mean, they're really starting to come out now. So I just want to say thank you guys for not giving up and waiting on us.
Thank you. Thank you for your work and your consistency in time.
Absolutely.
And your devotion to our community and listening to people and doing what you do.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. You take care. I'll see you later on in 2021.